Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are live from the Emerald City in Seattle, Washington, the UFO, Bigfoot, and paranormal hotspot of the Pacific Northwest. Coming directly to you, listening in around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Sunday. I am your host, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer, occupying the captain's chair tonight for SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including all of our listeners on the digital side at Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Revolution, actually, Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can always find our archive shows for free at any time. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us all a favor, will you, and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, and catching up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. And tonight, folks, is Father's Day 2020. The summer solstice, June 21st, 2020, and I welcome you to a really special show that we've put together tonight. Kind of at the last minute, which I kind of like sometimes. Every once in a while, you got to just go with it and roll with the punches. My main guest that I had on, a ufologist from Italy, by the way, was not able to join us at the last minute. So I'm hoping that there's no major emergencies going on with him. But at the last minute, I have actually called up some of my good buddies from years and years ago, and also on the UFO iTEAM to join me tonight. We have Lee Strauss from the UFO iTEAM and Ander Uristi. And of course, we are going to talk about all things UFO and paranormal and cryptid. We might even get into some ghost stuff. Who knows with the UFO iTEAM. And of course, we couldn't start the Sunday Spaced Out Sunday show without our good friend Peter Davenport from the National UFO Reporting Center. So it's going to be a fun show tonight. We don't have any time frames here. We can spend as much time as we want, and we will be keeping an eye on the chat room tonight, answering your questions as you post them up, and or if you want to join us on Facebook Live. Right now we are broadcasting live on Michael W. Hall on Facebook. You can go there and not only listen in to the audio, you can watch us live during our Zoomcast. So first of all, let's introduce our sterling guest, Peter Davenport, and bring you on first. Peter, how are you?
I'm doing well, Michael, and as always, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the airtime. I'm looking forward to this program tonight. I've got a slew of really good reports, one going back 381 years. So I think our audience will probably enjoy this. I hope so.
Oh, I tell you, you scour the earth for these sighting reports. And 300 years ago, this has got to be a doozy. Fantastic. And let's bring on, how about Lee Strauss next? Lee, how are you doing, buddy? Oh, for some reason, you're muted, so I'm going to unmute you. There you go. You can unmute yourself.
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for allowing me to come on tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for jumping on this special Father's Day broadcast here. Ander, thank you, buddy, for this real quick work that you've done in the last minute to join us tonight on Spaced Out Radio.
No problem. Happy to be here.
All right. By the way, can both of you guys hear Peter all right? We're going to try to get his volume up as much as possible so we can all hear and talk with him.
Yeah, he's fine, but he could be a little louder. Agree.
Okay, do whatever you can, Peter, to get on as loud as you can, and then we'll deal with it here.
Good.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and allow you to just proceed, Peter, and do what you do best. And if people don't, I often take it for granted that people know who Peter Davenport is because your name is so iconic in the ufological fields, literally for decades. And I want to make sure that people understand that you have been the sole director, proprietor, whatever, of the National UFO Reporting Center since, what was it, Peter, 1994, 5, something like that?
July of 94, Michael.
Yeah.
It's 26 years, and it seems like yesterday. 26 years have passed so quickly.
I know. It's just amazing. And by the way, people don't sometimes understand that you and I have been probably together most of that period of time as attorney, client, and friend and colleague. And I remember basically back in the old days where the UFO hotline number to the National UFO Reporting Center literally is in every FAA tower around the country, both military and private and commercial, and law enforcement as well. So if anybody gets a UFO report, say at O'Hare International Airport, you're one of the first guys to find out about it.
That's right. Thanks to the fine work of my predecessor and founder of the hotline, Robert J. Gribble from Seattle, the late Robert J. Gribble now, he was a retired Seattle fireman in 1974, when he set up the hotline, and he argued that what we needed in ufology was one facility where we could process all or many reports and compare them. And in 1994, after he'd run it for 20 years, I made the mistake of calling him one Friday night in July, when I'd heard that he was considering shutting down the hotline, and I recognized the tragedy that represented, and so I made a fateful call, Michael, and told him that I'd be willing to help him if it would help keep the hotline going. And before I knew it, he said, "Peter, it's yours."
Isn't that the way it goes? You call to give someone some support, and all of a sudden they recruit you.
Exactly. You got to be careful when you offer assistance to people. You can get yourself in hot water very quickly.
Well, and indeed, that's what happened to you. I mean, I don't know. You have broken some of the major UFO stories of this part of the century. Literally, the Phoenix Lights, the O'Hare International Airport sighting, and all those guys. I don't want to steal your thunder tonight because I know you have some hot off the press stuff that you want to tell us about it. But I just want to give that background for some folks who just, I assume, know who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Michael. It's been a long trek through ufology over these last 26 years. And, of course, as you once allowed me to do, I told my story about my first sighting at the St. Louis airport on an earlier program. I think it was 4 or 5 weeks ago on Spaced Out Sunday.
Yeah, that was a fascinating report. You were actually sitting in your vehicle with your family, your mother, actually. Your dad was working at the airport in a drive-in theater in a car, and all of a sudden this massive UFO shows up, and just, you can imagine everybody in the drive-in theater going, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah. And that sighting, Michael, I don't know if I mentioned it when I first described it on Spaced Out Sunday, but that incident didn't last more than 10 seconds, maybe half that amount of time. But I got a good look at that object, and it goes a long way towards explaining why I've had a lifelong interest in ufology since the age of 6.5, and why I am director of the National UFO Reporting Center today in the year 2020.
I think a lot of us are chosen somehow by the universe to do this. We really didn't have a lot to say about it. I mean, you're sitting there minding your own business as a kid, watching a film, and all of a sudden you're thrown down a rabbit hole that you just spend your whole lifetime doing. So I really appreciate all this effort, and the fact that you are willing to give all this information free to the public is just admirable. I mean, most people would try to monetize it, on their websites and that stuff. You've never done that, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you for commenting. It's been a labor of love, but it's represented a lot of stress in my life and a lot of time commitment. God only knows how many thousands, tens of thousands of hours I have dedicated to trying to educate the American people, and in point of fact, people anywhere in the world. Anybody who has a computer has access to my database of UFO reports. So it's not limited to the United States.
Yeah. No, it's, I don't know how many people visit your site daily, but it's just a standard. You go to the newfork.org or National UFO Reporting Center, and you can find out what's going on in your own neck of the woods that you didn't even know what was happening, last night, for instance, that kind of stuff.
That's the amazing thing about this field, Michael, is I get a lot of reports throughout every day, and I'm going to be sharing a bunch of them here very shortly. But it's astonishing to me that newspapers and news media people are not paying attention to what's going on.
Oh.
It's just flabbergasting.
Yeah, it's frustrating for you for sure. The UFO iTEAM has always said that. We go out and literally, we're going to be talking about this with Lee and Ander tonight. Anybody else from the iTEAM that wants to join us as well. We can pretty much go out any night of the week that there's some clear skies, and we will catch anomalous objects on videotape and with our instruments, and it's just amazing how many things are going on that people aren't even reporting. But we digress. Let's just get back to the meat of the matter for Peter now, and go ahead. We'll just follow your lead, Peter.
Well, thank you. And until Friday afternoon, I was planning to start with some recent reports, and I have a passel of recent reports that I'll touch on tonight. But I received a report from a gentleman who describes himself as a member of the military, currently in the active military, and he sent me a quote out of a book written by Governor John Winthrop, who I think the first governor of in September 39, year of our Lord. So 381 years ago, he describes an incident in which three men were in a what he calls a lighter. I think that's a small boat on the Muddy River. And the Muddy River is a very minor tributary. It could be a creek, as far as I know. Minor tributary to the Charles River that flows through Boston. And the Muddy River is just literally a stone's throw across the Charles River from the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology campus. And what happened on this September night in 1639, three men were in the boat. One of them his name is James Everell, according to Governor Winthrop. And they were on the muddy river in their boat and suddenly saw what they describe as a great light in the night at Muddy River. And they go on to report that when it stood still, it flamed up, and it was about 3 yards square. When it ran, or when it flew, I guess they mean, it was contracted into the figure of a swine. In other words, it's reminiscent of a disc. And they go on to further to say it ran as swift as an arrow towards Charleston, which is to the east of the Muddy River, downriver.
Oh, my. Can you imagine swift as an arrow? That is a great analogy for what we see nowadays with UFOs, even the Tic Tac UFOs, just streaking out of sight. Swift as an arrow. I like that.
Yep. And then this single paragraph goes on to describe that the three men in the boat, in what they call the lighter, found themselves, after the object went away from their vision, they found themselves well over a mile from the position they had been in, the location they'd been in when they first saw this object, and they were upstream from where they had been, and they had not rowed or paddled or propelled their boat in any way. So it is certainly reminiscent of a modern-day UFO sighting, and it seems to smack of an abduction phenomenon. And the paragraph goes on to point out that diverse other credible people saw the same light after and about at the same place and time. So there were multiple witnesses, and the year 1639, 2 years, by the way, after Reverend John E. Davenport, my direct forebear, founded the city of New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, my goodness.
Not far from there.
Was this a Davenport that came across on the Mayflower then?
Not the Mayflower. I think he came aboard the ship called the Hector.
Okay.
He certainly came in the year 1636. They wintered over in the first port they found on the Connecticut shoreline, and the next spring, after they'd wintered over on their ship, they got off the ship, they went ashore, and they founded the city of New Haven, because it was a new haven for ships to protect them from heavy weather during the winter months.
Yes. Isn't that fascinating? My family has done the genealogical thing to be members of the Mayflower Society. You've got to prove by birth, death, and marriage records that you go back to one of the Mayflower descendants who came over. And my lineage supposedly goes back to this John Chilton, who was the oldest oldest civilian on the Mayflower, actually the oldest person on the Mayflower that landed in Plymouth Rock. And his daughter, Mary Chilton, was the youngest person on the Mayflower. And they actually, at the same time, like you mentioned, they had to winter over on the boat in the harbor because they got there in the middle of the winter. And I didn't realize that they didn't set foot onto the New World until the spring, when there was a thaw, and when there was food available and that kind of thing to be able to make it to the shore. So that's fascinating. New Haven, Connecticut is founded by a Davenport descendant, progeny.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny Davenport. And I read a book recently entitled Home Before Dark, written by Susan Cheever, who is the daughter of the celebrated American man of letters, John Cheever, he's done a great deal of writing. And in her history of her family, she pointed out on page 17 that her direct forebear, was an Ezekiel Cheever, who came over she describes the event in great detail. He came over from London in the year 1636 aboard a ship called the Hector. And when he arrived in Boston, he was promptly arrested, as was Reverend John E. Davenport, my direct forebear. He was also arrested. God only knows what the charges were, but knowing my family as I do, I doubt that it was anything serious, more on a morals charge than anything else.
Yeah, there was lots of interesting folks and reasons for getting out of or getting to the New World, for sure. Very fascinating.
The morals charge might include not showing up at church on Sunday morning back in 1636 or 1637.
Yeah.
So both Ezekiel Cheever and Reverend John E. Davenport were put back aboard the Hector, which promptly sailed around the Cape Falmouth. I've forgotten what it's called in Boston, but sailed around and sailed down the coast of Connecticut and wintered in, and that was the beginning of New Haven, Connecticut.
Wow. So, fascinating stuff.
I love telling that story. It's really interesting knowing what your forebears did and what role they played in significant events.
Yes, and again, you wonder if obviously there wasn't necessarily a plan to some of these things that happened to them. They just were reacting at the time. But now you've come across a very major UFO sighting and potential abduction report of that same era. Isn't that fascinating?
Yep. And the way news spread, perhaps Reverend John E. Davenport, again my forebearer, might have heard about this celebrated incident in 1639, just 2 years after he had founded the city of New Haven.
Well, you would think that the news of something like that would travel by wildfire very quickly, and the fact that we even know about it now, someone wrote it down and was impressed enough to put it in their journal or diary.
Yeah. So I thought our audience would enjoy apparently a UFO report from 381 years ago. That's
now how did that report come to you, Peter?
A gentleman mailed in a report. For some reason, he was reading the history of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. There's a book entitled The History of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, which includes the copious notes of Governor John Winthrop.
Yeah.
And he wrote about this incident. He was a bit of an historian, apparently, and he recognized the value of keeping detailed and copious notes of events that were taking place. So, thank heavens for him.
Let's ask Lee Strauss and Andrew Uristi whether they want to respond to that unique sighting over 300 years ago and correspond or contrast it with what we hear about today.
Well, I think that's fantastic. The fact that they were upstream a mile away from where they remember last being. And, that harkens back to so many other famous abduction reports. And, it's just this is probably the first one I've ever heard of. You know what I mean? Or the first one on record as far as I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the oldest one I'm aware of.
And
ignore cave paintings.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
And you know what this is very similar to? The Allagash 4 sighting when they're in a canoe, right? And they're on a lake. They go out. They started a fire, kind of like a little bonfire on the beach because they wanted to go out fishing at night and they wanted to be able to find their way back to their campsite. And literally, by the time they get back to their campsite, the fire is like just smoldering embers, and they can't believe how long it was. Like 4 hours later, they get back to their campsite, and they just thought maybe a half an hour went by. So there is a lot of tales about UFOs and water, having to do something around water. But you're right, Lee. Missing time and then finding themselves upstream, not downstream, inexplicably. What do you think of that, Andrew?
Yeah, he stole my fire, man. I was going to say the same thing.
But what he didn't say, though, is that now that we've heard about this story, we're going to have to get a boat.
Yeah,
you didn't want to get a boat before, so
yeah, we've always wanted a boat for the UFO iTEAM anyway. That would be yeah. And then we got to get sonar and all that kind of stuff, for underwater UFOs and USOs, whatever you want to call them. But you guys, we're getting down to the bottom of the hour, getting ready to do our first commercial break here. So relax. And we are going to we'll just see how things go here after the break. But I am really pleased as punch with all the things that we are talking about already that are kind of piquing everybody's interest. So we will be right back on Spaced Out Radio in just a moment.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans. It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Well, we are back on Spaced Out Sunday. Thank you for joining me, everyone, on this great Father's Day broadcast. Let's just take a moment here to realize that there are many people out there that won't be able to potentially spend any time with their fathers, their parents, on this kind of a issue where travel has been restricted and loved ones aren't being able to be as mobile as possible. So I just want to salute all the guys out there that, and of course mothers on their Mother's Day as well, but this is being Father's Day. Salute all those of you out there that have children. We all have fathers, so it's kind of a good day to remember them on a day like today. So welcome aboard, everyone, and we are still here with the UFO iTEAM, Ander Uristi and Lee Strauss, and our good friend Peter Davenport from the National UFO Reporting Center. Peter, we don't want to impose upon your good graces to keep you on any longer than you want to this evening, but do you have a few more moments for us?
I certainly do. I'd welcome a little extra time tonight because I've got some other good reports that I'd be happy to share, and I will just follow your lead, Michael, on the time issue. And
oh, wonderful! Well, if you have another 24 minutes, we'll go to the top of the hour with Peter Davenport and the UFO iTEAM, and we can just kind of take your time and hit some of these highlights that you want to get the public to know about what's been happening lately.
That would be fine. after the case in Boston that we just talked about, I received another case from a professional writer, a woman who's done fiction, she's written nonfiction, and she's even written a brief for this U.S. Supreme Court. So she's a very experienced writer, but she sent me a note followed up with a report about an incident that her mother shared with this young woman about her mother's sighting of a UFO when she was a grade school student in Casper, Wyoming, in the year 1925. So
another oldie but goodie.
95 years ago, she excuse me, I had a little bite to eat during our break, and I've got some crumbs on my vocal cords, I guess.
No problem.
Her mother tells a story about her days in elementary school in Casper, Wyoming, again the year 1925, and she wrote that she saw a craft of some variety streak across the daytime sky during school hours, and so many people saw it that excuse me, Michael, that
no problem.
Many people saw it at the school, the students, the staff, and faculty, that they recorded it with an entry in the school newspaper. And I'm going to commission some people in Casper, Wyoming, who might like to spend a little time in the newspaper morgues looking for this article and post it to my homepage. We don't have a description of the object yet, but the young people were adamant that this was something that was terribly, terribly strange and different. So it sounds to me as though it may be yet another of those UFO reports from the distant past, in this case, 95 years ago. So
well,
if I get that article, I'll share it with the Spaced Out Sunday audience.
Oh, that would be fascinating. You know, that reminds me, of course, of the Ariel school sighting where I think it was well over 100 grade school students in Africa literally saw a craft land on their playground. And the whole school was talking about that. That's the one that Dr. John Mack investigated later on and became quite famous. But can you imagine in 1921, I think you said, Peter, in Casper, Wyoming, something is seen by grade school students.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
I thought of the Ariel school incident right away. That is an incident, for the benefit of our audience, an incident that occurred in Zimbabwe. It was the 16th of September, 1994. And the reason I'm able to remember this date, Michael, is because something very similar occurred in Cameron, California, just a week earlier. I had just taken over the hotline, and early one morning I got a call from a young woman who was the school nurse in Cameron. And she asked me if we'd had any UFO sightings that night. And ironically, we had. Coincidentally, we had one from an FAA supervisor in the Los Angeles Air Route Traffic Control Center. He had called and he asked me if we had had any sightings, and he gave me a good sighting that had occurred that night. This is on the 8th of September. And the next morning, this school nurse called me from a school in Cameron and described an incident in which I've forgotten whether it was a young male or a young female. I think a young female was standing at a bus stop waiting to be picked up to be taken to school at 6 or 6:30 in the morning. And she arrived at school in tears and explained to her nurse that she'd been standing at the bus stop and she saw a craft land and two small creatures get out of it and approach her and ask her if she wanted to take a ride. And that was just a week before the incident in Zimbabwe.
Oh, my goodness. So, just to recap, there is a young... Can you hear me, Ander, by the way? Lee, can you guys hear me? You're muted, so I can't hear you. So, but as long as you can hear me, I'm going to repeat what Peter just said. So nod your head, Ander, if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
I don't think Ander can hear anybody. So, okay. Why don't you unmute yourself, Ander? That might help. I don't know if that... I'm going to unmute Ander just to see if that makes a difference. You're kind of stuck there, buddy. Okay, there you go.
You guys can hear me. I can't hear you guys at all.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Can't hear anything. I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Okay.
No.
All right. We'll get this switched out during the break here, Andrew. Don't worry. It's okay. Okay. So anyway, what I'm going to do is repeat what Peter was mentioning, that a young schoolgirl is waiting at a bus stop at 6 a.m. in the morning down there out of Cameron, California. A craft lands, and these two entities come out, or two creatures come out of the craft and ask her if she wants a ride. Is that what you just said, Peter?
That summarizes it exactly, Michael.
Oh my goodness!
I had been running the hotline for approximately a week or 10 days at that point. I was still wet behind the ears. I had no idea what I was doing or what I'd gotten myself into.
Yeah.
And it was a very dramatic incident. One thing I failed to share with our audience is not only did an FAA supervisor call me on Thursday night. This would be the 8th of September, 1994. But I got a call later on Friday morning, the 9th of September, from two women who were in Santa Barbara, and they were on a cleaning crew. They cleaned buildings as a profession. And they reported to me that they had seen a red object go streaking by the building they were on. They were on the second or third floor of the building, and it went streaking by and scared the daylights out of them.
My goodness. That was the very next day. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my.
So.
Well, it would sure be interesting to find out from that young girl how she responded to the two entities asking if she wanted a ride. I mean, obviously, your mother would have always told you never take any rides from strangers, let alone aliens, But holy mackerel, what a story she's got to tell, I would imagine. And, if she was a young girl in 1994, she's probably still alive. That would be interesting to get a hold of. So, one of these days, Peter, what we'll have to do is whenever you get an opportunity to have a contact phone number for any of these amazing sightings and witnesses, we'll give them a call on the air one time and see if we can interview them. That'd be fun.
Oh, that would be a lot of fun. Actual eyewitnesses to UFO events it's some of the best radio I think you can have. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And it gives good stories, give people goose flesh. They're so unsettling.
Well, and I like the fact that they would be unrehearsed. You'd have to wait for them to pick up the phone and see if they're interested in talking. All those kinds of things, to me, are exponential, or what do they call it? Extemporaneous is what I'm trying to get out. Speech is just fascinating to me.
It sure is. I'm surprised more people don't do it in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Take a camera and go out and just interview people you couldn't do it for all sightings. They don't deserve really that kind of focus attention, but there are some good reports with really high quality witnesses that could provide some gripping entertainment.
Well, and I would imagine you've got a couple more sighting reports that you have up your sleeve for even tonight, but I've got a couple questions I want to follow up with you later. But is there anything else you have next on the list?
I've got a bunch of reports, but why don't you go ahead with your questions and we can close off with some good reports then.
Okay. Well, my question was, because we were talking about, potential extraterrestrial entities actually landing, and talking to school children, with the aerial report and then this one in Cameron, California. Isn't it true that you're getting periodically yourself at the National UFO Reporting Center reports of alien entities on the ground yourself?
Every so often I get such reports. They are rare, and they're even more rare when you eliminate the reports that have a question mark behind them for one reason or another. I'm the world's harshest skeptic, I'm afraid, when it comes to UFOs. And our listeners may be surprised to learn that I don't accept everything that is told to me. In fact, I accept very little of it, and I think you're probably well aware of that, Michael.
Yeah.
But
no, I've heard you many times quiz people and admonish them that they don't need to just take up your time in person or on the phone if they're not willing to write a report out in detail and give you the data.
Yeah. The one big problem in ufology is that if a person sees something that he or she believes may have been a possible UFO, they want to talk about it. And they want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and they'll take up your whole day talking about it. Unfortunately, none of that does any good. I point out that all it does is waste time and heat the atmosphere. And what we have to do in order to make ufology more credible than it is today is get people to not talk about their sightings, but write down the details. After all, talking about it does not serve to capture the information. You've got to write it down, and write it down in detail so that another person reading it can understand largely what it all looked like to the primary witness. But trying to get people to write, Americans to write, is one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, Michael. I don't understand it. We must spend $1 trillion on K-12 education every year.
Well,
that should include writing, training people how to write, and yet they don't like to do it.
Yeah, and I've heard you state the percentage of people who probably have sighted anomalous objects in the day or nighttime sky, and then who actually report them is so minuscule that there's got to be probably many, many more thousands of actual sightings than there are actually reported to the National UFO Reporting Center.
Yep. I suspect we've only just scratched the surface of ufology. And as you've heard me say, I estimate that out of somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 Americans who believe they've seen a UFO, only one of those people will ever come forward under his or her own steam. Now, if somebody in their community saw the same thing and goes to the press and gets some publicity, then people will flood forward. They need a leader. They need somebody to break the ice.
Yeah.
And few people really want to do that, particularly with regard to something as bizarre as the UFO field.
And you're right, Peter. That was my experience when that New York Times article came out, December 16th of 2017. And I remember Lee, Strauss, and Ander Uristi and I standing there with our mouths wide open, thinking, oh my gosh, for the first time in history, the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, is admitting that UFOs exist. Once that happened, people were more than willing to talk with the UFO iTEAM about their experiences. All of a sudden, they're just coming out of the woodwork going, well, I saw something, and I know that Lee Strauss is one of his life goals is to get rid of that stigma that people were under up to that point. And I think that's one of our goals, in ufology, is to let people realize that this happens all the time. It's not going to help if you don't talk about it or, record that data.
Yep. Somehow we have to remove the stigma from ufology to get all those people to come forward and not tell some poor UFO investigator the whole story verbally, but get them to write it down and capture the data surrounding their sighting.
And by the way, it's pretty easy to do on your website because you've already got the reporting form there, right?
Yeah, I think it's easy to do, but people complain that they don't want to spend the time writing about it, and I point out to them that if they don't want to spend the time writing about it, there's very little advantage to my spending my time to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, they want you to take up your time being their scribe or something like that. Gosh. Well, listen, I'll bet we've got time for one more, Peter, if you're willing to go till the top of the hour commercial. So go right ahead.
I have several really interesting, intriguing sightings. The first one comes from Benton, Maine. I don't know where Benton is in the state of Maine, but this occurred last night. A young woman who writes extremely well, she's the exception in the field of ufology, writes that last night, the 20th of June, 2020, at 9:53 p.m., 21:53 p.m., she was swimming in a swimming pool with a friend of hers, and she looked up and she saw a very bizarre flash of light. And what she saw, as she focused more carefully and looked more carefully, and I'll just read a few of her comments. She said, I realized the light is coming from an object moving rapidly across the sky. She saw this object, by the way, for only approximately 2 seconds. She said it was closer than airplanes normally fly, and it was a giant black rectangle with black circles in each of the four corners, and there were white and yellow lights running down the sides of it. It made absolutely no noise despite being so close. It appeared to be quite close to her, that I could see details of the circles in the corners of the craft, she said. It's a good report, and there were several similar sightings all across the United States last night.
Oh, of a rectangular object or other objects as well?
Of other objects, not necessarily rectangular.
Okay.
But one I will mention in particular comes from Bismarck, North Dakota. Again, last night, did I say Friday?
Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday, the 20th of June, at 23:15 hours, 11:15 p.m., a gentleman writes that he saw a dark shape move across the sky very rapidly. He saw it for only less than 30 seconds, he said. And he couldn't make out the shape, but he said it turned on a light that shone down and illuminated the two witnesses just for a second as it streaked across the sky at very high speed. And one other, I'll just add to the group of sightings. This comes from 12:30 a.m., 30 minutes after midnight this morning, White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Two witnesses saw a very bright red object in the northern sky moving slowly across the sky. It stopped, it moved backwards, and then suddenly sped up and disappeared. So that's my report for this week, and I see we're quickly running out of time.
Oh, that's fascinating. So we've got rectangles with lights in the corners. We've got an object that shoots a spotlight down on the witnesses. Oh my goodness, we've got an object that in White Bear that streaks through the sky, stops, and then reverses direction. That's familiar to the UFO iTEAM. We've seen those things before and got them on tape. But my goodness, that all happened within a space of a few hours last evening on the 20th of June. So I don't know, Peter. Things seem to be happening faster and faster and more exciting. I don't know if indeed these are only one or out of 10,000 or more reports. Just think of all the things that are happening that people don't even talk about or report.
Yeah. Again, we're missing the overwhelming majority of the data from people who see these things. And I encourage people, if they've ever seen a UFO or what they believe might have been a UFO at any time in their lives, whether it was 8 minutes ago or 8 decades ago, I implore them to write down the details in sufficient detail so another person reading the report could understand clearly what it all looked like to the primary witness, and submit it using our online report form at UFOcenter.com.
And let's give out that famous hotline again for the National UFO Reporting Center.
Our telephone hotline has been the same for 46 years, Michael, as you know.
Yep.
It's area code 206-722-3000. 206 for Seattle, 722-3000.
Well, Peter, again, thank you so much. You do remind me of a father figure in my life. I want to say that as a very good compliment. I want to thank you for allowing us to take up some of your time here on this Father's Day Eve, 2020. And we will be talking to you, I'm sure, next Sunday. If not sooner, if something else happens, give me a call anytime. But Lee Strauss and Andrew Uristi and myself wish you well for the next week.
Well, thank you, and thank you as always for the airtime and your continuing interest in the field of ufology, Michael. It's great. I don't know how we would get the word out if it were not for radio programs like yours. So we owe you a debt of gratitude. And by the way, happy Father's Day to you. As you know, I've met your children, and you did a wonderful job of raising kids.
Yes, you've watched my kids grow up from little tykes to now they're all adults now. So thank you. And Cameron says to say hi to you.
Good, thank you. Say hi to him for me.
All right. We're going to take a break, folks. We'll be back in about 6 minutes with more of Spaced Out Sunday.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Sunday. I am your host, the paranormal lawyer, Michael W. Hall, and thanks for joining me. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And on the digital side, we are very proud to be on Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can always check out our archives for free at any time at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, and catching up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more. And here we are now with the UFO iTEAM. Lee Strauss is on the line, and we'll see if Ander is available as well. But hey, that was kind of fascinating to listen to Peter for a whole hour tonight, wasn't it, Lee?
There was a lot of information there, I'm telling you. I was so jazzed to hear those old reports come back. From archives way since, that have disappeared.
1639. The year 1639 in Boston. Oh, my. I love those reports. And what did you think of that description of how fast the craft traveled, like an arrow? That's a very appropriate way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. We've seen craft move through the sky like an arrow before. So, yeah.
Well, listen, this might be a good time for us to kind of give a little introduction of who the heck the UFO iTEAM is. You and I have known each other for a long time and have been out in the field investigating for a long time. But I have a feeling that a lot of folks out there, of course, this is a pretty big audience we have tonight on Spaced Out Sunday, so I thought maybe I'd allow you to just go ahead and give a little description of what the heck we are, what do we do on the UFO iTEAM, and I will fill in some gaps as we go along here. We have now, you and I, a little less than 2 hours just to go over all these things that we want to talk about tonight.
All right. Well, you actually brought up the subject of making the team. We were just a couple of friends that were doing, haphazard research in the field, starting, 8 years ago. And then about 3 years ago, you came up with this idea, and we were like, heck yeah, let's do this thing, which is legendary now,
Well, and we to think that we started in Denny's. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Showing up where America eats. And have ourselves, what was it, a Monday night? Was it always been Monday night for us? I think it has been pretty much.
We tried to change it to Wednesday nights at one point in time, but... Yeah.
We'd show up for dinner there and have our little sizzling griddle things or burgers and shakes. And it was, of course, that was back when I weighed almost 400 pounds. And I could really put away the food back then, but
right.
Before my bariatric surgery that saved my life. But it was fun. You and I and Ander, and then we had Carol Williams, one of the founding members, join us. Mary Kennedy, one of the founding members, and quite a few other folks came and joined us during that period of time where we would literally share reports that we would find and kind of gear and all that kind of stuff. And we would put together these expeditions to go out into the wilderness, literally, with minimal gear back in those days. You remember what we first started out with?
Well, I started out with one full-color night vision camera. That's it. So, there you go.
And then, of course, we got pretty fancy and even got tripods and, monitors and all that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, that might be a good thing to do right now, is to explain to folks that we literally are pretty sophisticated now with our gear and the scientific data that we can collect. You might want to explain a little bit about the equipment that we bring into the field nowadays.
Well, it's not just cameras anymore. I mean, you're talking about like tri-field meters and Tesla meters and EMF detectors. I mean, you're talking Geiger counters. All these different devices that we're bringing into the field now. It takes some getting used to using the equipment that you've never used before, and finding out what the background readings are versus something that may be anomalous. So those are all things that you have to learn pretty much on the go. So it's a staggering amount of knowledge that you have to gain while you're out in the field, as well as you're doing your normal stuff with the camera gear. So
yeah,
it's a lot.
And nowadays, I know that your array of equipment consists of 3 and 4 tripods with multiple cameras on each tripod. You might want to explain how you set up.
Oh my gosh, Michael, it's not only am I trying to film what the anomalous objects might be, but I'm trying to film for the equipment that we're using, like the tri-field meters and all of that other stuff that we put into play if we're getting any anomalous readings. So we're filming for that, but we're also filming for a show on top of all of that other stuff. So it is absolutely staggering the amount of gear that we have to put forth and the amount of time it takes to do the work. I mean, right now it's just Ander and myself doing all of this. And then once all of that multitude of data that we collect, we gather it, and then we have to take it back and then the show around it. And it's there's a lot of work. One show could take a month to build and then put out.
Oh yeah, and it's almost as if between you and Ander Uristi, Dave Mason, and anybody else that brings along their gear, it's almost like a road show, packing this stuff up in these major boxes that you've got in the back of your massive truck to get the stuff in and out of the field and set up. And like you said, not only are you setting up the cameras to get night vision and FLIR and all that stuff that you've got, in your arsenal, but then you're also setting up for recording content for your own show at the same time. By the way, let's give that a plug, because it is called Ander Uristi, or is it Ander and Lee on the trail? Or
it's the UFO iTEAM's Ander and Lee on the trail.
And my gosh, the episodes are just rolling out this season. I think you're up to 4 published episodes so far?
4 published shows and 7 in the can.
And I know how difficult it is to edit all that footage, even after the fact. Matter of fact, I've heard you call me up in the middle of the night sometimes and say, oh my gosh, we've got some stuff we had no clue we had even at the time we recorded it.
That's typical. That comes right along with just putting the cameras out there, and we have to step away from the monitors that are attached to the gear. We have to film the gear. We have to walk around and take readings and all this other stuff, so we can't sit with the cameras full time anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus you have to, not that it's scripted at all, because it's not.
No.
It's an unscripted reality television show that you're producing, but you've got to make it interesting as well. It can't just be visual content. You've got to tell people what you're doing, what you're anticipating, what you're thinking about at the same time. And it's fascinating the way you guys put that stuff together. Literally, we're finding out to our big surprise that there's some big people out there kind of emulating what you are doing on in your own production. It's kind of fun to see.
Yeah, that's it's pretty hilarious. In fact, we have caught some people that have come to the UFO iTEAM page and obviously liked what we were doing and tried to emulate it on their own. So that's pretty hilarious.
And I'm not talking about amateur videographers. I'm talking big productions, Hollywood studios that are picking up some of the cool stuff that you guys are doing and recording, and just the techniques that you're using in recording is fascinating. The way you put it together with the music in the background, original music that both you and Ander produce yourself. So it's kind of fun to be able to show what you guys are doing out there, and it's finally paying off, I think, big time with all of the clicks and the downloads that you're getting on YouTube and stuff. Hey, Ander, thanks for jumping back on, buddy. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay. You're back on, buddy. Yeah, we were just talking about how Ander and Lee on the trail, part of the UFO iTEAM episodes that you guys are producing, are getting a lot of airplay and clicks and downloads, and people are starting to emulate your own style of production out there. Other producers are doing the same thing that you guys have kind of been showing them how to do. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. I wasn't expecting that, but that is pretty cool. I guess we can inspire others or whatever.
You know, the sincerest form of flattery, sincerest form is people doing or emulating what you do and trying to. By the way, they're not doing it quite as good as you guys do it. By the way, no. As you know, they're kind of like learning the ropes of how to do some of the photography techniques that you guys are been honing in on doing over the years. So it's kind of fun to see that. At one point, I would imagine you're going to get a phone call from some of these major production companies going, now, how did you guys do that again?
Yeah, we're constantly pushing the veil.
Yes.
The veil and our luck.
That too, yes. No kidding.
Yep.
Well, let's do this. What we did, Ander, we just kind of went over a little background of the UFO iTEAM, how we all kind of got together, and the idea that we're trying to go out into the field with our scientific gear, not just cameras, but all these technical, recording gear and all that stuff, for Tesla meters and electronic effects and all that kind of stuff. It might be good to have Ander explain a little bit about his area of expertise, which is audio, and how that relates to the idea of looking for UFOs and or monitoring some of these high-tech gear, for instance, the electromagnetic effects that we typically run across as well. You can take a few moments just to kind of tell us how you set up for a Skywatch, if you'd like, Ander.
Well, I mean, I can kind of go over what we did this past weekend. We have this new piece of gear. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact name of the model, but it's basically a spirit box with two channels, two radio stations. What is it, like radio channels? You could do like FM or AM, and you can, it's also has like a temperature thing on it. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's amazing. So one of the new things or techniques we're going to start to use with this is to record that. I mean, we're hoping that the Space Brothers and Sisters could, use that machine to speak to us directly. So if they do come across on that machine, we'll be able to record it and actually have that, saved as evidence.
Do you want to tell him what one of the phrases that came across that thing?
Oh, you're actually getting phrases now.
Oh yeah,
not just words. Okay, well, yeah. If you want to pique our interest on what happened this last weekend.
Do you remember, Ander?
I remember it giving us 4 names in a row that were names we knew, but I don't remember the phrase as of right now.
Okay,
we had a lot of stuff happen.
On the spirit box, when we were, we had the cameras going and all that, and we took the spirit box and we asked a question with it. We got an answer that came through pretty clearly that said, people of Earth, and then
That's great.
people of Earth, and then something. We have to go back and review the audio and make sure we hear it correctly, but we did hear people of Earth.
Oh, my goodness.
That's right.
My favorite television show, People of Earth. I don't know if you ever saw that hilarious farce of a show. Oh, it's just great. But literally, you got a phrase, People of Earth, this time.
We were actually trying to communicate. And as you know, we've gotten responses back from craft before when trying to communicate with them. Ask them to flash, and they flash.
Yeah.
So it was Anders' idea to get this spirit box and to use it when we're trying to communicate with them. So we think it's working.
Oh my! Oh, that's fascinating news. Let's explain to this is kind of edge fringy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Spirit boxes. Let's kind of explain the scientific analysis of how these things are supposed to work and how they actually do what they do. I don't know who wants to take that on, whether it's Ander or Lee, but it would be interesting to see, because you guys are adopting literally a ghost investigation gadget for our own purposes in potentially communicating CE5 contact with alien entities, and it'd be interesting to kind of explain how a ghost box actually works.
That's all you, Lee. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, put it in my lap, why don't you? Well, I'll tell you, it sweeps the whole band of AM or FM, depending on what you choose, and it'll sweep it forwards or backwards for you. And since we both the tool that we're using has two sides to it. Basically, you can put AM on one side or FM on the other, or vice versa, or AM on both channels and sweep one forward and one reverse. And you can actually sweep it at different rates of speed, forward or reverse. So it's an amazing piece of equipment that Ander got a hold of, and it's awesome.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, because our good buddy Bill Hauser is one of the main guys, when it comes to technical gear on ghost hunting, has explained it to me this way, that these things literally scan the radio frequencies, AM or FM, and both, and then they allow for, it's almost as if when you take your television set or your radio and you put it between the dials and you get this static, right? Mm. In reality, you're creating kind of static like that by doing this span of the entire spectrum continuously with this device. And then what it allows potential spirits or anyone else that can communicate on this kind of FM or AM level is that they can pick and choose whatever words or sounds that they want that come out of these spectrums to create words and phrases. That's almost as if how it works. Yes. And in reality, it is remarkable how your questions, when you're asking questions to nobody out in the middle of nowhere, get responses back that sometimes make sense and sometimes give you information that you can follow up on collaterally and also at the time and get some further information. It would be kind of fun for maybe Lee to explain how you got to this point because of the CE5 protocols that you've done in the past and gotten contact response from these UFOs. For instance, that one thing where you were communicating with her, asking it to flare up on 3 separate occasions, and it actually responded to you somehow.
Okay, well, I want to clear the air. We don't use any protocols when we go out there at all. Okay, the only thing that we do is put out an intent. We would like to see you, or whatever whatever the intent is. I'd like to see a UFO do a 90-degree turn, for instance, and we know that has worked in the past. So we put out the intent. There is no protocols that we abide by. We just happen to be extremely lucky.
Good point to mention that, because it's not something you got to learn necessarily. It's the positive intent that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, it for us, it all started with, seeing these objects and then asking them to do things, and then they would do things. The first incident that happened with Michael was with you and me at Baker, up there at Artist Point. We sat there and watched that darn thing for a half an hour, and it did what we asked it to do.
Let's give people a visual of what we were seeing that night from this beautiful location looking north towards Canada from the Mount Baker area. This was a large, I would say, bright white light, or was it white or orange? I can't remember how it started out.
I think it was just a whitish light when it started out, but it was pretty well stationary.
Yeah. And quite big. I mean, you're talking about if you were looking at a nice clear Venus, planet Venus one night, it might have been, 10, 20 times larger than that?
It was good size. It was hanging over the border. We were looking north from Artist Point up at Mount Baker, Washington. And this object was low in the atmosphere, just above, from what we could tell, just above Mount Shuckson and the Pleiades Mountains, somewhere in that vicinity. So there you go. I mean, even the Pleiades Mountains, I mean, holy cow, right?
Yeah, can you imagine a mountain range called the Pleiades?
Right,
the Seven Sisters, up there by about the Canadian border, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that right there was odd enough by itself. And here we're watching this object, and all of a sudden we get the idea that we should try to communicate with the darn thing. And we got this on video, but however, that video did not have audio. That first camera did not have audio with it, unfortunately.
And by the way, I need to interrupt you because we're going to go to a break right now, and we're going to then come back. This will be a good teaser for everybody to realize that we have a great story to tell you when we come back about how this craft seemingly communicated with the UFO iTEAM. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docu-series featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and strange humanoids. Truth seekers Stephen Bassett, Jeff Meldrum, Jack Casher, and Stanton Friedman, among others, all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Spaced Out Sunday. It's Michael W. Hall, the old paranormal lawyer, talking with the UFO iTEAM, Lee Strauss and Ander Uristi. Ander, what was that little show you were putting on there during the break? That was just hilarious. Was that something that you did, or was that a video you had?
I don't know what you're talking about. Just kidding.
That was cute. That was a little alien dude visiting there from your side of the fence. That was fun. Gosh, well, I cut you off during the break there, Lee, on a fascinating story. Do you remember where we left off?
We were talking about the lights that we were seeing above the Pleiades Mountains.
That's right. Yeah, and the fact that was that the night? I remember at one point I had brought along with us a glow stick from the dollar store. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Was that the same night that we're talking about?
No, that was a different. That was the following year.
Okay. All right. Well, explain again. We don't want to leave the people hanging on a cliff of what happened that night when we're up. I don't know what the elevation is at Artist Point. It's pretty high up in the Cascades, the North Cascades, but literally the Pleiades mountain peaks are, I don't know how high they are, but this was hovering above the peaks there.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you were there in your lawn chair, of course, all bundled up like you usually get. And you had your binoculars, and we were watching through the monitor that was attached to one of the cameras that we were using. And, we asked it to change colors, and it did. We asked it to change red, and it changed to red. And then we asked it to flare up, and they flared up. I mean, and we were just in awe. I remember just like...
Yeah. And this is not just anecdotal evidence of a story. This is caught on tape.
Holy cow. Yeah, this was caught on tape. No audio, of course, but just the video itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating how... And that's, I think, the first time I remember where you seem to have some kind of connection, psychic or otherwise, to these objects, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, that just really got our attention.
Yeah, that was the second year that we went up. Yeah, so, it was a yearly thing that we went up to Baker, and it still seems to be. However, I don't know if this year is going to go through or not.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to. Normally, we probably head up there in July, which is coming up very shortly here. All of a sudden, you realize it's almost the middle of the summer. Well, summer solstice just started, but July is typically our full-blown expedition season, so we'll have to get together and figure out what kind of trips we want to make, if we want to make any this summer, and where we want to go, and then gather our resources out there, because you always wonder in a group like ours whether these kinds of things that happen where everything's shut down, like for instance the 9/11 thing where there were no air flights, literally everything was shut down as far as the airspace goes. Whether you're going to get more sighting reports during those periods of times and periods like now when people are hunkered down, with the COVID virus kind of thing and the economic lockdown, you wonder if this might be a perfect opportunity to go out and see things and record data. So we have to figure that out at this point.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be, as far as, you got less people on the roads, you got less people, out and about now. So it seems to be a perfect time to go out. But of course, up here in Washington, we've had nothing but cloudy weather for the last 4 weekends. So
yeah, it's fascinating because the rest of the country literally are, getting some good heat out in some areas, and we're just not quite there yet. Of course, that's why we like it out here in the Northwest, being so temperate, as far as the weather goes. But it is a challenge when you're trying to have some clear night skies to get this footage that we normally get out there. By the way, let's give a plug at this point to our websites and Facebook pages so that people can literally go and watch what we're talking about. You know, when we put up videos and those kinds of things, let's direct people on how to find it.
So, Andrew, you want to go ahead and throw the plug for?
Yeah, one of our main ones is our YouTube channel. It's just Andrew and Lee on the Trail. That's where we post most of our stuff. We also have a Facebook page on Facebook called Andrew and Lee on the Trail. And we're also, of course, affiliated with the UFO iTEAM, of course.
Which is on Facebook typically. You can go to UFO iTEAM on Facebook and find out. Matter of fact, people can join us on Monday evenings. Tomorrow night, we're going to have our normal Zoomcast meeting on UFO iTEAM on Facebook. So they can always check us out there, either watch the meeting or they can join if they want to as well. If they've got some good sighting reports they want to share with us and that kind of thing. So, yeah, we're out there literally pushing the envelope and getting this data out to the public as quickly as possible. And I've got to give kudos to you two guys in your new channel on YouTube, Andrew and Lee on the Trail. It's just you've opened up a whole new thing with now, 4 major episodes you've released of the reality television show that you guys do, showing and bringing people out with you into the field to do investigations of not just UFOs, but cryptids, Bigfoot, and now you're bringing some ghost box gear and all sorts of interesting things. You guys do it all. Maybe you should tell a little bit about that Bigfoot expedition you guys recently went on as well, and where you were and kind of how that came off, because that is a fascinating episode.
Actually, I would like to put it to Andrew, and I'd actually like to have him explain why we decided to create this show. It was actually his idea, and I'd like to throw that at him, actually.
Sure. I mean, it was almost kind of like an accident, to be honest. I mean, last year we went out and we were just super excited to be out again because, living here in Washington, we have to wait almost a whole year before we can do some stuff because the winters are pretty, they can be pretty rough out here because of all the different elevation gain and stuff. But we went out last year and I was feeling extremely goofy and having a good time. And I just started filming, the things that we go through on a regular basis, even if it was just, something, a real small obstacle or just something crazy that we're like, we look back and I'm like, did this really happen? So I showed it to Lee. He kind of liked it. And then he sent me some of his clips. And then we kind of pieced it together to make a full story. And then that's when he was like, you know what? I think we have something here.
You do.
Just went from there.
And you know what? During this worldwide lockdown, it has become so popular. You got to realize that people are surfing YouTube and Netflix and Amazon Prime for ways to get out of their own houses nowadays, without having to travel and to spend money, and they can't fly in airplanes anymore. And you guys are taking them out into the field with GoPros and iPhones and high-tech equipment that literally, and with the cool thing is that you guys compose the music in the background that adds the tension to the story as well. It's a fascinating production that you do.
Thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. We're learning and we're only getting better. It seems like we get more confident and more comfortable behind the camera as we continue. So that's the biggest thing, because I've never been one to really want to be in the center of attention or on camera or anything. So it took me, I'm still working on it, but it's getting there.
Yes.
Yeah. We got a great dynamic too. I mean, we've been friends for as long as you and me have been friends, Michael. So, I mean, all three of us. So the dynamic is fantastic between me and Andrew, and it shows on camera for sure. And, we're not 100% serious about things until we are serious about things. So a lot of the time we're just goofing off and having fun. And you really have to do that. I think if you don't then it's not going to be enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's the journey that people like to watch. It's not necessarily that you're going to come up with incredible footage every single time you go out, which you guys seem to do, by the way, but it's the journey getting there. It's the packing up the gear. It's the unpacking the gear. It's getting ready. It's setting up. It's the banter that you two guys have between each other. That it's almost like it's scripted, but it's so well done that you guys are just so natural talking to one another out in the field. And it's almost as if you get to anticipate each other's moves because you know each other so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree.
Well, go ahead. Keep going.
You want to go then ahead and talk about episode 3 then?
I would love to be able to do that. Give people, because what I'm attempting to do here is give people a mind's eye view of what they could see if they tuned into your YouTube page tonight, so we can get more and more people to click on your episodes of the reality TV show, Ander and Lee on the Trail.
Well, episode 1 was pretty much like we were just kind of goofing around, putting some things together. Ander did a good job with what we had. Episode 2, we were definitely, getting better. We even put in more evidence, just like in the first one. We had some fantastic evidence. In number 3, when we went on the Bigfoot expedition, that video is the turning point. Right there, you can see we just made leaps and bounds. And it turned out just absolutely incredible.
And not to give away all the secrets and everything, but literally there are some really strange events that happen on the trail with you guys that seem to show. I mean, I think at the time when you guys are experiencing them, you quite didn't understand what was happening. When you went back to edit this thing together, there were some mysterious parts of this trip that didn't make a whole lot of sense. You might want to explain a little bit about that.
You take it, Ander.
Let's see. I'm just going to jump off the first thing off the top of my head. The first thing that comes to mind from that trip is the funny feeling we got when we were crossing the log. That to me was one of the most unusual things, because we felt it. I mean, it was something we were experiencing, we were feeling it.
Well,
and right around that time.
Let's set the stage here. You guys are traveling down a very secluded trail. Yep. You come to a pretty good sized creek with a log bridge, like a single log. This isn't like, a log bridge where you could roll a car or even a bicycle across. This is something you got to balance yourself on one major log to get across the creek. And explain to people what happened.
Well, Lee was already crossing. He was on the bridge, on the log bridge, and I was approaching it. And all of a sudden, I started having problems with my camera. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It felt like 15, 20 minutes went by. I felt like Lee was a little annoyed, because I was holding him back. So I was trying my best to pick up the pace, but it happens, you have problems with the equipment. You got to figure it out. You have to troubleshoot. So eventually, I finally got on the log, I crossed over, and I started feeling odd. And it wasn't until I put my feet on the ground that it just came off full force. I just felt extremely tired. I felt like I had to hold on to my consciousness. And immediately I turned over and I started talking to Lee about it. And Lee, he also was feeling something similar too.
Yeah, it felt like I wanted to roll up on like a ball and take a nap right there.
Oh my! Which is weird, because you guys are at that point how many hours into the trail probably?
Oh, because we were filming. We were probably 3 hours in at that point.
Yeah, and there didn't seem to be visually any strange things or anomalies, but all of a sudden both of you mentioned the fact that you just weren't feeling right. And I remember there was a discrepancy on the time frame that had passed. You might want to explain that.
Sure. I mean, we were on one of your Monday night meetings when we first talked about it a while ago. But just to go over it for those who haven't heard the story, with the program that I use to edit my software, I can put a timestamp on that particular moment in the video, and it will tell me the time and the date when, whatever it is that you're seeing at that particular time or moment. And as soon as I started having problems with my camera, it was about 2:17. Once I got it up and running again, and I checked the timestamp, it was 8 minutes later, but it felt like 20 minutes later. It felt like 20 minutes had gone by. And it was, again, in that same spot where we started to feel that weird, like, consciousness slipping kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? So, in other words, both you, Ander, and Lee thought that you were struggling with that camera and pausing on the trail at that river crossing for 15 or 20 minutes to get things up and running with your camera. But in reality, you're saying the timestamp only shows 8 minutes going by.
Correct. Only 8 minutes. That's it.
Isn't that...
And that was one thing I wanted to definitely, just check, because I knew that was unusual at that point in time. So I knew in my mind, once I went back to edit the video, that I was going to have some kind of timestamp. There had to have been something. So when I found that, I was like, oh boy, this is it. This is exactly what I was hoping for. And I was expecting it to be about 15 to 20 minutes. I was literally expecting it. So when it was, about half that or whatever, I was pretty shocked.
That is weird. Yeah. And that's just one episode of an amazing reality television show that you guys are just going gangbusters on as far as bringing people out into the field with all of your scientific data gathering gear. And I can't wait to see what happens now that you've got this FM radio, AM radio Ghostbuster kind of ghost box thing when you bring that along with you. And of course your Tesla meters and all those kinds of things will have a lot more evidence of potential reality of what's happening to you guys when you go out there in the wilderness.
There was a lot more things that happened during that episode 3 that we haven't, we haven't talked about here. With whatever it was that was up on the hillside, right where I had rocks thrown down at me before.
Yeah, this is a good teaser time because we're getting to the top of the hour here. So we're talking not just pebbles, you're talking basketball-sized rocks being thrown down the hill at you, potentially from cryptids or Bigfoot or whatever. We're going to probably want to bring that up when we come back about that event as well. But I'm really excited for you guys and what you're capable of doing now. And I know that Ander, a lot of the burden is on him. You come back with mounds and mounds of footage that you got to go through, right? That's got to be daunting for you, Ander.
Yeah, it can be at times, but it's also a lot of fun to go through it and just kind of pick up the little details that we might have missed. So it's definitely, it's fun. It doesn't really feel like work, but it does take up a lot of time, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for all your hard work and all your expertise. You've got that audio background, being an audio engineer yourself, and having a degree in that, and you bring that to the table with all of your other gear that you guys are doing, including both of you guys are heck of musicians yourself. You create your own music. And of course, you've been a DJ forever, Ander, doing that on the side as well. So you've got quite a lot of expertise you bring out into the field, including parabola microphones that pick up stuff way in the distance even that you guys are playing with.
That's right. Yeah, it was kind of funny too because all we did was to use a cone of shame, just that plastic thing used on dogs to keep them from biting themselves or scratching themselves. It was Lee's idea. It was great. I mean, it works amazing. I was actually surprised how well it worked. And I can't wait to show you guys a video once we get there, which is not too far along. But the next episode, episode 6, you can see us testing out this parabolic mic. And the look on Lee's face when he tries it out is just priceless.
So in other words, it really does make a difference in gathering sound at a distance, right?
Oh, God, yeah. It's incredible how well it worked. Even I was shocked. But the fact that I caught his expression on camera was priceless.
Oh, I think that's fantastic, and the way you can adapt gear is great. Right. But yeah, go ahead. Would you have something else to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to real briefly talk about what it is. So it's basically a cone, and it focuses any audio that goes into it directly. So it's like very directional. So in case people are wondering what this is, it's basically it captures sound from any direction, but it isolates, so that you're not wondering like where this sound is coming from. So it lets you determine where the sound's coming from, and it makes our lives a lot easier. Because the first time when we were there for episode 3, it was so hard to determine where the sounds we heard were coming from.
Yeah, because they seem to come from everywhere when you're out in the wilderness, and obviously with a parabolic microphone, you can pinpoint the direction, and you can get that on tape as well. So that's fascinating stuff. Okay, you guys, well, listen, we are about to take another break at the top of the hour here, and then we're going to come back and really get into some of the details of what's really happening out there. So we will be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good.
Well, welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Sunday. I am your host, Michael W. Hall. Thanks for being with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And on the digital side, we are also on Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can always check out our archives for free at any time at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us all a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, and catching up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more. And again, folks, thank you for being with me on this Father's Day broadcast of Spaced Out Radio, June 21st, 2020. There's stuff going on all over the place that we've heard about at the first part of the show with Peter Davenport and the National UFO Reporting Center. And now we are having just a reminiscing old time tonight, kicking back with the UFO iTEAM. Ander Uristi and Lee Strauss of Ander and Lee on the Trail, the YouTube reality television show, that you've got to check this out, folks, because if you are feeling a little cabin fever, being hunkered down, for months on end in your own house, not being able to travel, taking a plane or a train, or even going camping, literally they have got the anecdote for that when you go out with the UFO iTEAM and Ander and Lee on the trail, accompanying them on their expeditions and investigations for UFOs and cryptids, Bigfoots, and all sorts of paranormal activity out there in the field. So thanks, you guys, for being with me tonight. Thank you for spending some time on Father's Day with the old paranormal lawyer.
No problem. Always fun.
And by the way, I think we were kind of getting into that real interesting story about you guys running across potential Bigfoots in the wilderness, and what happened to you guys, not just recently as well, but in the past when you've come across these certain areas. You might want to explain a little bit about what your experience has been, not only with the UFO UAP issue, but with cryptids and Bigfoots as well.
Well, for myself, I've had a lot of experience with these sorts of things, and Ander has too in his own right. He's had experiences that I haven't had, and vice versa. So I think we play off each other very well. In fact, Ander used to be called the Orb King way back when, because he was able to capture orbs in his studio. They seemed to like his music a lot, and he definitely attracted them for sure.
And this is on video. You're talking about capturing these anomalous light sources that literally are orbs dashing in and out of the screen that Ander used to, still does, I can imagine, record these things, and it's almost as if they're sentient beings of some kind reacting to the music.
Well, I'm not sure what they are. I mean, this happened back in 2013, and it started happening right after I came back from East City Ranch. And it happened for about 2 weeks after I came back from that visit. It was my first time ever visiting that area, and I love that place. That's where I had my spiritual awakening, in fact. But yeah, they came around for a while, but then they stopped, and I haven't really had that many. Nothing, as compared to that, what I had those first 2 weeks.
Yeah, fascinating. So we've got the Orb King, and we've got Lee Strauss out in the wilderness. And tell us your experiences with potential Bigfoots there, Lee.
So we alluded to the excuse my language here and my twisted tongue, but basketball-size rocks that were being thrown down onto the railroad grade where I was hiking on. And this was years ago, but that's why we went back to this place, because it's known to have activity. It's not just myself having the activity. There had been other reports of strange activity on this trail. And quite frankly, I have been hiking since I can remember as a little kid and so forth. And this trail is the creepiest place that I've ever been. Still is the creepiest place that I've ever been.
Let's explain where this trail is.
It's out of Skykomish, Washington. It's up the Foss River Road, and it's the Necklace Lakes Trail.
And this is the North Cascades,
Yes.
which the Cascade Mountain Range runs north and south from Canada all the way to Mexico, in reality, through California and everything. but it's particularly active up in the Pacific Northwest, where you've got multiple volcanoes that are still spewing out gas and things and rumble. And of course, that's where Mount St. Helens blew its top in 1980. But we're talking even north of that, up in the North Cascades, where you were on this trail.
Yes, that's correct. It's not far from the Pacific Crest Trail, the PCT. It's not very far from that at all. So I'm sure that will pique people's memory hearing about the PCT. But
well, let's set the stage on what you were doing that on that expedition, and basically kind of walk us through what happened and how you got started and the whole thing.
So that expedition itself is, we were going back there trying to find evidence. That was the whole reason why we went there. The year prior, I had found some footprints and, did some habituation with some apples, and we basically went back and did that again this time. And we did not find any, well, we maybe found a footprint, but we weren't sure this time around in the same general area. This was just a day trip, however, it wasn't an overnighter. We did go and habituate, and we had some strange noises come from the hillside. We heard two good wood knocks when we were out there. But yeah, it's definitely an active place.
Now, when you're hearing what you're calling wood knocks in the wilderness, you got to explain a little bit about how strange that is to hear in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, you're not thinking that a bear is picking up a stick and making wood knocks against a tree, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, something has to pick up a chunk of wood, a good-sized branch, you would think 2 to 3 inches around, and smacking a tree with it. So, you're gonna need a thumb for that.
Good point.
It's not just somebody stepping on a branch and breaking it. We're talking about, some serious strength and power going into making it such a noise.
So you can obviously tell the difference between a creature making a stick break, stepping on something, as opposed to a wood knock against a tree.
Yeah, opposed to a purposeful wood knock, right?
Yeah. You might want to also explain a little bit about that term habituation, what that really means and what the purpose of it is.
Okay, so, the first time I went out to this location after I had the rocks thrown down on the railroad grade, I decided to put some apples out near the location where this happened. And I take a bite of the apple, of course, because I want the scent to go through the air, but I also want my scent on the apples that they pick up, so they'll get used to my scent and know that I'm giving them a gift, basically. So we did that again, and we subsequently also came in, back a few weeks later and did it a following time for episode 6, which we actually spent the night out there.
And you try to pick basically the same spot each time to get them used to that, or does it matter?
As far as the last time we went out to this location, we put some apples out in the same habituation location, but we also put them around where we were set up base camp, I guess is what you would call it.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. And you said you did run across some potential large footprints that didn't seem to be human footprints. That's fascinating stuff, to think that you guys are so far into the wilderness there that something the size of a human footprint or larger, much larger, would definitely be alarming to see.
We saw a really good one in episode 6. You'll have to wait and see, because it was way off the beaten path. Yeah, nobody was going up there.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think it would be important to set up the story of why this area seems to be so important to you. You kind of skipped over that first story where the boulder-sized rocks are being thrown at you. You might want to set that up, that scene again, and tell people how shocked you were when that happened, and maybe the location of why you think it's important to where that location is as well.
Yeah, with a big mammal like Bigfoot, he needs to eat something, and keep him sustained. And the thing that there was in that location was like a swampy, marshy area. And it's actually a named lake, but it's just a bunch of marsh. And there's a lot of tubers plants down there. And early in the morning when I was hiking out because of a thunderstorm that had happened the night before, so I came off out of the high elevations and came down onto the lower trail. Early in the morning, must have been like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and the lights just barely there. These basketball-sized rocks were thrown down on the railroad grade, and I had figured that after that happened, that they were just trying to get me out of the way so they could come down the hill and to get to the tubers and whatnot.
And literally, you're talking about not a hill that, for instance, slag could break off of a rock and start rolling down the hill and then all of a sudden bounding out into the air and crossing the railroad track grade. This is something that's kind of like very unusual, coming out of nowhere. And like, I think you mentioned that it was even knocking over pretty good sized trees on the other side of the trail when it hit.
Nothing was knocking over trees. These basketball-sized rocks were smacking into trees above my head, and then also hitting the railroad grade and then bouncing across. These rocks were not sharp in any way. These were roundish rocks. So you're looking at a rock that has been weathered quite a bit. So they didn't come off a cliff face.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't cleave off of a cliff rock or something like that.
I would gather there was 6 to 8 rocks that were tossed at that time.
Oh my. And I remember at one point you physically yelled up to whatever was going on, going, "Hey, stop," or whatever.
Yeah, I said, "Hey, I'm walking down here." And that's actually when it stopped. And then I didn't realize it until like 20, 30 seconds later that, wait a minute, what just freaking happened? Oh my God. Oh my Lord. So yeah, I realized that, no human could have thrown those rocks.
Yeah. Pretty big rocks to be throwing a basketball size boulder through the air. And then I understand you hightailed out of that pretty quickly, and that's the reason that you seem to be drawn back to this area. And you haven't had those major confrontations since then, have you?
No, we haven't had any major confrontations. I won't say that we didn't have any, but I will say that we haven't had anything threatening.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating that you are willing to bring some gifts, bring positive intentions with you that might make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, along with the apples, what else did we bring, Ander?
We also brought these little like plastic animals. I thought that was pretty interesting too, because originally what we wanted was marbles. I've never heard this theory before, but Lee told me that what the purpose for the marbles is to leave them behind like a souvenir, something they can just look at and take, whatever. We couldn't find marbles. The only thing that we were able to find were these little plastic like toys. They were about maybe like an inch tall or so. So that's what we used. We just kind of placed those he put like 3 little toy animals next to the apples, and we put them like in a perimeter, like around us. A pretty good size perimeter. Like what is it, maybe 100 feet, maybe?
I would say it was more than that. From one apple to another, we probably
yeah, from apple to apple is way more. I would say that was maybe like 500 feet, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we used the little animals for. That was pretty interesting. Never heard of that, but I have pictures of it too, so I will post those up soon on our Facebook page.
You know, I have heard a reciprocal habituation happening with cryptids as well, where literally the apples are gone, maybe the marbles, the toys are taken, but in their place are interesting stones or small gifts from the forest as well that literally look like a reciprocation of the gift. Have you guys ever been back to the areas yet where you've made these gifts to see if anything like that is there, or whether the gifts that you've left are gone?
We haven't gone back yet. It's only been a couple weeks, so.
Yeah, okay. And by the way, I know you've been hindered by snow up at that elevation. Quite a few episodes up to this point, so I'm anticipating any day now you guys might be able to get back to the location that you're really trying to get to.
Well, let's just put it this way: we finally got there, but we had clouds, so much for that, right?
Isn't that the way it goes?
Always, yeah.
But you were actually able. What about that? Tell me, we've got, I think, just enough time to tell this story about how you guys almost slid off the mountain trying to get up to this location in your massive 4x4 monster truck. That was quite an amazing part of the episode that literally sends your heart beating just watching you guys.
We still get that even now. Even this past weekend, just driving by, it felt that way.
Well, set the stage. Tell them what happened.
I want you to do it, Andrew.
Oh, boy. Let's see. So we were having a jolly old good time, just driving, talking smack, doing our thing. We finally came across the lodge, and we were excited because it's just massive. It's like these two huge, I'm trying to think how I would even compare them, like as far as like the circumference. I mean, I don't know. You have to see the video, you guys. I highly recommend it. It's all there.
Could you have put in your arms? Could you have put in your arms around the tree?
No, not even close.
Okay, so there's two of these massive trees that have literally fallen, either in a windstorm or a lightning strike or whatever, across the forest road that you guys are on. But someone has taken a chainsaw to some of it and tried to clear the area so you could get through in a truck. But your truck is so huge and massive with the rack on the end and all the equipment that it barely makes it by these logs that are sticking out. And then, of course, the left-hand side of the road is nothing but a sheer drop-off down the mountain. So explain, keep going. This is fascinating stuff.
So I even remember myself thinking, let me roll down the window and continue to film this because it's just so massive. It's insane. And I wasn't thinking anything was going to happen. I just thought, hey, this is the same spot we came across last time, and we didn't think anything of it. So we continue to drive past it. We get past it, like as far as like the front tires get past. But then something happened where I believe, I honestly don't even know exactly what happened. All I know is the vehicle got bumped, like the back passenger side tire got bumped by the trunk or the tree. So it pushed Lee's truck on the edge. Like if this is the edge, it literally was hanging off like that, off of just one, like the front driver's side tire was hanging, and you could just see the angle of the vehicle. And at first I thought maybe we hit a rock and it messed up like a transmission or something. I had no idea what was happening at that point, and I turned around to look at Lee like, what? I take it this is bad. And I'll give it to you, Lee.
And Lee is on the downhill side of the vehicle in the driver's seat, staring at like thousands of feet below him over a cliff. Trying to figure out how he's going to get this thing back onto the road. And go ahead. Yeah, you can take over from here, Lee.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I I shouldn't have made it back on the road. I don't know how it happened. I think the angels were there pushing us back on the road, because I literally, I swear to God, there was no way we were gonna live through it. At least I didn't think I was gonna live through it. I had Ander jump out of the truck, lock the hubs in 4-wheel drive in the front. I flipped the switch inside. I had him move all the gear that was in the bed of the truck to the one side of the uphill side. I had him put all his weight on the rear end on the uphill side and hang off the lumber rack, basically, to try to get enough weight on that. Like you're on
a sailboat, catamaran, leaning out over the side. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And we made it. I still shake my head to this day how I made it. I have no idea.
Well, you guys were literally shaking afterwards on film, trying to explain what just happened.
I shook last weekend when I had to drive through there again. It's
PTSD for sure. PTSD for sure.
Yeah, bad.
Man. Well, with that, we can take our last break of the evening and take a commercial right now. But I just thank you for explaining that. And by the way, if you want to see that, you got it all on tape. What happened on which episode was that?
That's episode 4.
4.
Okay.
Episode 4.
Of Ander and Lee on the trail on YouTube and at UFO iTEAM as well. So, okay, you guys, thanks for going through those hair-raising stories there. We're going to take one last break here, and we'll be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Need that good supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
And we are back with Spaced Out Sunday and the UFO iTEAM. Lee Strauss and Ander Uristi of Ander and Lee on the Trail. You can check them out on YouTube anytime that you want to get out of your house and into the wilderness with the UFO iTEAM and all of their gear and scientific instruments and investigations. And you know what we haven't talked about sometimes, or yet anyway, is the fact that not only that individually you guys seem to have some responses to Bigfoot and UFOs, but literally the gear seems to be interacting sometimes with whatever entities are happening out there, and the electromagnetic effects. Sometimes your batteries will just die on you in the middle of a skywatch. You might want to explain how that works and what you've done over the years to experiment on how to keep that from happening.
So you're talking about the Faraday fabric. We've experimented with that. It seems to be okay, but we don't have any proof that it works. However, we're keeping our batteries now in a Faraday bag to mitigate that issue. But it's not just batteries that's the problem, is the gear too. Last weekend we had I don't know how many malfunctions with cameras, actual cameras.
That's right. That was ridiculous. I think we only had one camera working.
We had, at one point we only had one full color night vision camera working. And we have 3 of those. And just one was working. So the other 2 were out of commission.
And this doesn't seem to correlate with too high of an altitude, too cold of weather. It doesn't seem to correlate with that, right?
No, that has no bearing on the electronics. I mean, cold can obviously affect things, but it wasn't that cold out. I mean, it was 80 degrees during the day, and it only got down to maybe, 65 at night.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about, if you can explain to people who are just listening in tonight, what do you experience in this regard with malfunctions?
Well, the camera itself would give us a blue screen, basically. And sometimes that happens, but it doesn't happen like this. Usually I can get it up and running again. We've had in some of these cases, we've actually caught an object on the screen moving across the sky, and then things start to malfunction. We've had monitors go out. We've had cameras go out. We've had batteries go dead. So whatever the entity or whatever the object is that is out there is doing this stuff on purpose, and I think they almost find it humorous at times, I believe.
They're kind of trying your patience is what's going on, it sounds like, because I've been out there with you. I know exactly what you mean. All of a sudden, I mean, you guys your gear pretty well. You charge it all up. You have multiple backup battery packs and all that kind of stuff. And literally, sometimes you've even told me that your batteries will just like die before your very eyes. You'll just see them drain. And then moments later, they're right back up to 100% again, or back up to being recharged. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
I mean, I've had that happen to me during episode 4. It didn't make the cut into the video, but what happened was I just charged my phone. It was up to 100%. And 20 minutes later, it dropped to 1%. And I've never had my phone do that before.
Oh, my.
Within 20 minutes.
Yes. That's crazy. And this is an iPhone 11 Max Pro, I believe, that you have, right? The latest version, basically.
Actually, no, that's what I was using for filming, but I was using my older phone. But I've never had that issue with my older phone.
Yeah.
I know that phone very well, too. I've never had it drain in 20 minutes. That blew me away. And I haven't had that since. So
let me add to that. That same episode, there was about an hour of clearing we had in the sky, and we actually caught quite a few objects in that in the sky during that hour. So
lucky, extremely lucky. Because what are the odds that the sky clears for 1 hour, and we left the camera just facing in one direction? What are the odds that things happen, right there for the camera?
Yeah. And then sometimes again it correlates to this malfunction issue as well. Isn't that funny that they don't malfunction your camera when you don't have anything to look at anyway? It's fascinating that correlates to one another, that maybe when you have things to watch for, that's when they can take it down if they need to, or if they want to. I don't know. But like you said, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they allow you to get footage. And then sometimes they react to your requests to flare up and do things like that. And you've caught that on tape as well. Gosh, it's amazing that we are doing this kind of CE5 stuff, human-initiated contact, we think. And you guys are kind of on the cutting edge of that stuff.
Yeah, I think we are, especially now with the introduction with the Spirit Box. If we can get if we can get them to communicate with us and then also show themselves on camera at the same time, that's probably the holy grail right there. You get audio from a spirit box and them showing up for the camera at the same time. That, I mean, what do you do with something like that? Holy cow, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely mind-blowing.
By the way, is this spirit box audio good enough, Ander, to be able to pick up on tape so we can hear the things that you guys are hearing?
Absolutely. I'm already looking at different ways to record directly from the machine. We only used it this past weekend, so I'm excited to see what we can do with it in future episodes once we become more familiar with it and also just pick up stronger signals. But yes, we can absolutely record in a variety of ways.
Wow, that's fascinating stuff. Now, by the way, I want to allow people to realize that not only are you having your gear out there picking up anomalies in the night sky, in the forest, and all that kind of stuff, you literally have what I kind of call an abduction camera tuned in on yourselves just to get the overall scene of what's happening, just in case something happens that you guys don't understand, that there could be missing time or gaps in your experience. That's fascinating how you're doing that as well.
Well, we haven't implemented that since last year. Actually, we haven't brought it out this year at all. It's something that we can definitely do. It doesn't take very long to set up. However, right now, I don't have an extra tripod for it, so I'd have to pick one up.
Yeah.
However, for this past episode that we just did, 7, we did leave the GoPro outside of the truck, facing towards us as an effect. So if we catch anything on there, at least we have that. But yeah, it's what we did. I think it was pretty interesting because it got the movement of our headlights in the truck in the dark. And I think it was a warp speed, was it, Lee?
Yeah, I set it for a time lapse. It's called time. Yeah, it's time warp or something like that. Now my mind is fogging out on me, but I set it outside the truck. Usually the abduction can is wrapped with a Faraday fabric itself, so in hopes that it can't get manipulated or anything like that.
Gotcha.
And people might not even understand who Faraday was or what this Faraday fabric is supposed to do. You might want to explain the idea how it works.
Well, it's a copper mesh that is covered in a silver or a nickel. And what that does is it shields the components from any type of electromagnetic anomalies or electromagnetic disturbance or anything like that, so that whatever's inside that will keep functioning properly. Now, we don't know what kind of technology the ETs are using. We're just using something that we know about that works, for military purposes and whatnot, to shield their electronics. So we're not sure if it's going to work.
Yeah, you really don't know what technology is being used against you at this point, but you're just experimenting to figure out if it's going to make a difference, and it's fascinating that you guys now are branching out into various electromagnetic recorders and Tesla meters and those kinds of things to be able to determine maybe how this stuff is affecting your gear as well.
Yeah, I don't think it'd give us the full answer, but it would give us something, and something is better than nothing. When you think about you think about ghost hunting, you think about looking for Bigfoot, and you think about the ET phenomenon and the UAPs and the UFOs. All of those things are separate fields, but just because a piece of technology works in one field doesn't mean it's not going to work in another field. We need to experiment and try to, come together with all of those fields and figure out what's going on. And I think only by doing that, we're going to see a greater what am I trying to say here? Just right?
I think it's important to realize that many researchers in the paranormal kind of stick to their own field,
right?
And they don't share with one another across their research fields, and it's important. Because something like a ghost box that literally, I mean, that's just a generic term, but the idea of scanning FM and AM frequencies for anomalies that happen under certain conditions, that's important to do not only in UFO sky watching, but potential Bigfoot and or any other spirit kind of issues that are potential there for a communication or any kind of scientific data that you can gather. That's important because I think the UFO iTEAM and Ander and Lee on the Trail, you guys pride yourselves in being multidisciplinary in your research, not just one thing.
Yeah, there's no one answer.
Right.
So we have to experiment. We have to push our limits, not only in the technology that we're bringing to bear, but also in finding new ways of filming ourselves doing what we're doing.
Yes.
And I also want to add too, whatever you see is what you see is what you get. We're not going to add special sound effects. We're not going to have somebody wearing a monkey costume or whatever. Like we're doing this, straight as an arrow. Like we, transparency. So
yeah,
you can always expect that from us.
Yeah, there's no jump cuts, with drama, or something happening that you're trying to create an atmosphere that's not there. You guys literally will show exactly what you're talking about, what you're seeing, what you're feeling. Is another thing which is I really think is fun for your reality television show that you guys do is that you are able to explain what you're feeling at a certain time when you're there that, of course, a viewer wouldn't be able to know unless you explain it to them.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably something that a lot of reality TV shows are missing is the human fact. What am I feeling right now at this particular time? Because that's the human body is its own best instrument for detecting things that are around you, right? So we need to use that tool.
Yes, and of course, when we're dealing with just video and audio, in a two-dimensional kind of like a thing, of television, it doesn't bring in all those six senses that you guys are feeling out there in the field. And I just love the way you guys are able to play off each other, ask each other questions, and check in with each other emotionally when you're out there on the trail, and bring that home to the viewers. That's fascinating stuff. That's real life experience for people.
Yeah, I mean it's just like I said, it's just we're going to show you what we see through our own eyes, basically. So I'm glad that that's coming across.
And I love some of the camera techniques that you guys are perfecting. It's almost as if you've got certain things that you can do. For instance, that low-level camera that just zips along the ground, the top of the ground on a trail or something. And I don't know how you get it to be so steady that you do. It's just wonderful to be able to really, I mean, it's almost like you're feeling that you are walking 2 inches off the ground and experiencing the trail as it comes up as you go on. I love that kind of bold interpretation that you're giving your camera angles.
Yeah, we constantly think about what would be cool to do, and if we try it and it works, then we'll put it in the show. But it might not always work. But there's no sense in just kicking something to the curb. We'll try it all.
Right. Oh yeah.
Well,
we'll have the tire kick it to the curb. You're going to see one of our new camera tricks here soon. So,
are you
say something about it?
Are you really? You got something new coming up?
Yeah, we tried something new this last weekend. We fixed the camera to the actual tire of the truck.
Really?
It looked pretty good until.
Yeah, so we extended the camera off the hub of the vehicle, and we pointed it at a 90-degree angle. So wherever it would see the same spot in the tire as it drove down the road.
Oh, I see. Boy, are you guys experimenting. That's fascinating stuff.
Not only did we do that, but we also stuck it at a 90-degree out from the tire. And so all you would see is the landscape spinning
Yeah.
as you drove down the road. So we're giving everything a shot that we can possibly think of. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful experimentation.
It is until you lose your camera. I remember at one point Lee was like, "Hey, did we lose the camera?" So I had to get out of the truck and walk back like 50 feet. And like, oh, there it is.
Oh my! Isn't it amazing how rough and tumble this equipment really is? You know, the GoPros they can go underwater, they can bounce off cliffs. You know, it's amazing and still work. Matter of fact, I've seen people do these things where they're sending them up in homemade rockets and hot air balloons, and they're literally, you know, in Earth's atmosphere, you know, near space. And they're tumbling down, and these things survive all the way down, and they bring amazing footage, you know, with them.
Yep, absolutely.
And, of course, now you guys are being emulated by other television reality shows out there with your own techniques being used on some of these other shows. I think it's fascinating that they're copycatting some of the cool stuff that you guys have pioneered as well.
Well, we'll keep pushing that envelope for sure, because we want to stay on the bleeding edge of film for sure.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing is that you guys are technically savvy. You know how to use the gear, but you have got the experience of years, literally decades, of being out in the field. It's almost like, I remember when when Les Stroud, I keep getting you guys mixed up all the time because you look like each other, Lee Strauss and Les Stroud. When Les Stroud was dropped out in the wilderness with nothing but a camera, you know, and he was one of the first guys to do this genre of filming, you know, out on his own, doing his own thing. You guys literally have taken it to a whole nother level with all of your gear that you are able to get out into the field and then be able to bring back and show people what it's really like to feel what it is to be out there.
That and all the obstacles that we face, because there's always a huge obstacle getting in our way.
Whether you plan for it or, I mean, it's just like any other expedition. You plan for the worst. All the contingencies you try to plan for, and you just never know what might be happening down the road, whether your truck gets like flipped off to the side of a mountain precipice, or Bigfoot is throwing boulder-size rocks at you, you know, down from across the grade that you're walking on. It's fascinating whether you guys end up missing time right before our very eyes on film. That's fascinating stuff for people to see. And I just got to give both of you kudos on all the great work you're doing with the reality television show called Ander and Lee on the Trail on YouTube. They can always check you out there. Where you're up to multiple episodes on the first season at this point. How many episodes do you suppose will be in this first season eventually?
We're thinking maybe anywhere between 10 to 16, more or less. What do you think, Lee?
I think about that. You know, we'll be well into winter time before we get, you know, the latter part of the season out. But it's just so much darn fun. we'll continue to do as much research as we can. We'll continue to go out into the field even during the winter time. There's a lot of, one of the places we want to go is Northern State Hospital up in Cedro-Woolley and do an investigation up there one evening and night. So.
Oh, you got to take that new ghost box with you for sure on that one. That would be fascinating. Okay, well, listen, you guys, we're pretty much down to the end of the show here. 3 hours have just flown by. I really want to thank you for joining me for the Father's Day episode of Spaced Out Sunday. You really saved me today by coming on and really explaining about what you're doing out there in the field for the UFO iTEAM and Ander and Lee on the trail. So thank you again. We will definitely see you guys down the road, and we will probably, if anything new comes up and your new episodes, need to be shown right away, we'll get you back on the air on Spaced Out Sunday anytime you guys need, just so you know.
Wonderful. Cool. Yeah, thank you.
All right, you guys. Thanks again. We'll be seeing you later on Spaced Out Sunday next week.
Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Evans.
And I'm John Evans. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturday, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumble fucked?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumble hot sauce comes in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
There once was a man who had some land in eastern Washington. And on his land, this man, he had a deep, dark hole upon. People came from miles around to throw their trash down in to see how deep the hole was and listen for its end. Then one day, that fateful day, they forced Mel off his land. They paid him off and sent him off down under with a plan. They hid Mel's hole and covered it up so ne'er it could be found, so no one would ever know what's deep down in Mel's ground. Yippee-yi-yay. So if you chance to find yourself in eastern Washington, the legend of Mel's Hole, be wary, my dear one. Don't ride alone at night on that Mustache Ridge, but listen carefully to the moaning deep wailing.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you and remind everyone that Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. You can find out more information and music at bumblefoot.com. And a special thanks to everyone listening in at home and in your cars, at work, and in the chat rooms tonight. Wherever you are around the world, remember this show is currently copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thanks for sharing your evening with us, folks, because together, my friends, We own the night. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday.